So then guys, this is one of my most requested videos, which is going to be a monkey boss guide for mages and just in general. For the most part, you can use this for other classes as well, but this is going to be specifically focusing on mages, what exactly to do, all the steps behind it, all the mechanics behind the boss, and this is going to be in depth. It's not just going to be basic, so this is pretty much going to tell you everything you need to know to really kill the boss. So then, it's a difficult boss, but I think it's one of the most fun fights there is, and at the same time it's actually very skillful. So part 1, the requirements, and this is going to be assuming a likely shot at killing it. You can get away with much lower HP if you're very lucky, but for the most part, if you want like a 90-95% chance of killing it, this is what you're going to need. With a solo heal, you're going to need a lot of HP. 26 to 30k HP. Why you need that much, I'll explain in just a bit. And this is my recommendation, is that you should wear the S3 gear with the FML set for stronger shockwave damage, Atrocity set tier 4 trinket because they have good stamina, God's Anger is a good replacement, and pretty much everything you have must have stamina. You can't just have wisdom, it's not gonna fly. Also with double heal you can have a little less, still wear some PvP though because stamina is always very important. So then this is the positioning, and there's multiple positions you can do this in, and some people are really creative with what they do, but in all of them this is the base, this is the standard. You have to be tanking a monkey in the middle. You can't take monkey in the edge, but then the problem is that not only will it reset, but you know, the mobs won't come, and the main reason why I want to tank in the middle is because that's where the mobs come, and it's gonna be the easiest for the tank to actually get aggro. Because if the mobs attack anyone else but the tank, then you're probably gonna wipe. So this is the position that I normally use with single healer, and then it's very simple. The whole point of it is that everyone must be in range of the healer's prey. If you're not in range of the prey, you're probably gonna die at the end with all the triple ad stage. And keep in mind, this drawing is not to scale, and the real deal is the place is a little bit narrower, so it's not as wide. And also, just in general, prey has a much longer range than the animation makes you think, so just keep that in mind. Just test it out before you actually summon the boss. Make sure that everyone is in range, because if you're not in range, you're gonna wipe at the end. As simple as that. And keep in mind, this is also the only working double heal that I found, except that you have the DPS in the very back, almost at the wall, and then you also have the healer to his right and his left. And here's another position that I found that works. I saw a few other people doing it, and it's just the same concept. Everyone just has to be in prey range, so no matter how you do it, everyone just has to be in prey range, and people can't be too close, which is the next thing I'll talk about. So then here's a tricky thing about the monkey boss, is that it puts a debuff on everyone within like mid-fight. And what it does is that if you get too close, then you start doing crazy damage to each other. You start taking like 2k every you know, like 0.5 seconds, and then it goes to like 8k if you do it too long. Pretty much if you stand too close to each other, you will die. So that's why you need to keep almost maximum prey range from each other, and also that's why you can't have a melee DPS for the most part. It is possible to have a DPS tank, and then it also, I heard it is possible to use a military monk or one melee DPS, but for the most part I would not recommend it, since you need to keep as far away from each other as possible because it is debuff. I mean, if you get hit, if you start taking damage from each other with debuff, you're gonna die and you're gonna wipe. It's just that simple. So then, for part 3, I'm going to show you the specs that you can use for this boss, and you have to do fire. Do not try mage. People will laugh at you, and I'll laugh at you, and I'll call you an idiot. So then, pretty much this is the spec, and then a lot of it, I'll tell you why I pick Elemental Finishing and Flame Revenge, or my reasoning behind it, or why I think it works. And then, you know, 5 out of 5 erudition, don't get sleep, don't get anything else that's stupid, you're just going to be going against a fight. You don't even really need burnout because the mobs aren't affected by slow condition. And you know, and then this is pretty much standard. This is what I would recommend. So here's another working spec, except the only difference is that you have no Flame Revenge, and you have more into Elemental Finishing proc, and you also have the last point into extra fire crit. So it's pretty much the same. You're pretty much going to play this, you know, exactly the same as before, except I wouldn't recommend it, since, you know, maybe it works better, but I'm not familiar with this, and my guide's going to be focusing mostly on the first spec. So now I'll talk about the different stages of the fight. The first stage is just a single mob, and it's like at the very beginning of the fight, he'll summon one mob, and he'll summon one mob 2 more times, and then later on, as his health goes down, And then this is the really easy part, just go full DPS here, doesn't really matter, you should not wipe. If you wipe here, then you're pretty much guaranteed failure later on, because this is like by far the easiest stage. So then this stage is where things get a little trickier, especially for you as a DPS. Everyone else in the team will just continue to do what they do as normal, except for this. This is where the DPS has to be very careful. Do not go full DPS. That's right, do not keep spamming fireball. And the reason why is because the monkey will start casting a blue shield, a small blue shield, not the big blue shield, but the small blue shield, and then it will reflect 100% magic damage. And this is the reason why most DPSs have trouble with this boss, or they cannot do this boss, or they keep dying in the middle of the boss. It's because they don't realize this, and the whole point of it is that you need to watch the monkey cast, and once you see him cast a small blue shield, you need to either cast elemental finishing or you need to cast frostbolt. Frostbolt you want to cast because it does low damage, so you don't want to do no damage because that's just stupid, but you want to do low damage so you won't die and your healer can heal you up. And at the same time, elemental finishing is very special because its description says that it cannot be reflected, and this is something that almost no mages really know about, is that it cannot be reflected. So if you use elemental finishing and it crits for 15k, you will take no damage back. It's just the way the spell is. There's something special about the spell, and that is why you see me constantly spam it. And also this is where the mobs start getting dangerous, because there's two of them and some of them can get tricky like the purple mobs, so the tank can't handle them all by himself. You have to save Flamestorm for the mobs. In the beginning stage you could just use Flamestorm no problem because it's just one and you can handle one mob by yourself, or the tank can handle one mob by itself. But with two, you need Flamestorm. If you get double purple mobs in this stage, it's going to be really annoying for your healer. And then just in general, just save your Flamestorm. You can use Skyfire. You don't need to wait for Skyfire cooldown, but at the very least you have to wait for Flamestorm cooldown. And then the hardest stage is the triple mob stage, and this is where almost all the incapable teams cannot pass. The triple mob stage is the hardest and the riskiest part, because it kind of has to do with luck, kind of has to do with coordination, and a lot of it is just experience at the end of the day. So this is going to be focusing for you as a mage. For healers and tanks, there's a different process, a different thinking you have to go through, but as a mage, you must absolutely have both Skyfire and Flamestorm ready for your mobs. And this is, you don't really need it all the time to kill them all. Sometimes you can just get away with Flamestorm, but this is preparing you for the worst case scenario, which is multiple purples or multiple blues. And if you get multiple of those, then you're probably going to end up wiping, unless you have Skyfire up. And if you get, this is like a worst case scenario, keep in mind. So you want Skyfire, then make sure your shockwaves crit, because if they don't crit, then you have to wait 5 seconds, and then the purple mobs will end up healing the boss, and then you end up wiping. So then also, yeah, Flamestorm's ready for mob, and also the let's see, and also the healer must have prey. And the reason why is, which I'll talk about in just a bit, but just because without prey you probably will end up killing yourself through your DPS. So must have prey during the mob stage, at least one. If you have double healers, you don't need both of them to pray. You don't need to pray back and forth, you just need one pray to survive. Also on the monkey will go rage mode, and the whole point of it is that you cannot just stall this part out. If you do not have enough DPS at the end, or if you take too long, then the monkey will just keep doing more and more damage until it starts one-shotting your tank. And by the end, you'll start doing like 12k auto hits. So, hustle. Don't slack off. Do slow DPS when you have to do slow DPS. Do fast DPS if you have to do fast DPS. It's just that simple. So then, for part 5, I'm going to be talking about all the different type of mobs, and most people don't know about this at all. Most people don't bother to know about it, but I think it's still good information. So then, as you guys know, the monkey boss summons different ads or different mobs every time it has the dialogue, and destroy the invader, elementals come. So then these are the different kinds, going from least dangerous to most dangerous. So the ones at the very end of this slideshow are gonna be the most dangerous ones. So the first one is the super mob, the super gluttonous king or whatnot, and it's white, perfectly white. And then the whole thing with it is that it just has a lot of HP. Does pretty normal damage. You know, normal is like moderate damage. You can definitely survive 3 of these under prey, and it just moves really fast, so the tank does not get aggro. Then it'll end up raping the DPS or the healer. But if you have a good tank, not a problem. This is not your issue as a mage. Just DPS is normal, it's not threatening. It just has a lot of HP, but you know, even if it lives for a very long time, it doesn't do anything special. The next mob is the fire mob, and it's red as you can see in the picture here. It does moderate fireball AoE. It hurls fireballs at everyone. Those fireballs don't do any burn damage, I believe. It also targets someone random for pretty large fire damage. And that's the whole meteor thing that comes crashing down. And then the thing behind it is that if you don't kill it fast enough, it'll start to do massive fire burn damage to the entire team. So kill it. It's not that big of a deal. It'll probably die naturally. The flamestorm and shockwave, you don't need to focus on it, but still, it's just there in mind. Do not let it live too long for whatever reason. And then there's a rock mob, and it's like grayish, whitish. It's a little darker than the super mob, I believe, but you know, they're pretty much just the same. Pretty much both just white. And the whole thing behind it is that it does massive auto attack damage. I mean, it does huge auto attack damage. You can see me taking 24k damage, and that's equivalent to about, you know, like 10k, you know, 9 to 10k, 8k damage to a tank. So yeah, keep that in mind. You know, it's not it does reflex physical damage, which is not your problem. It doesn't have that much HP. It just has a shit ton of single target damage to the tank. So this is the healer's problem, this is the tank's problem, but as a mage, just DPS and normal, and everything should be alright. And then the next mob is the Thunder mob, and it's yellow, and it does moderate damage to the tank, okayish damage, not that much more than all the other mobs. And then the whole thing behind it is that it constantly stuns the entire team if it's not killed quickly enough. You have plenty of time to kill it, but if for some reason you delay and decide to leave it alive, then as you can see in the picture to the right, it'll cause thunder coming down and it'll constantly interrupt and stun everyone, and it's not good. Pretty much you're gonna wipe if you leave this thing alive too long. But you know, low HP shouldn't be a problem. So for most of these mobs, they're not your problem, they're the tank's problem or the healer's problem, but for this is your problem. So watch carefully. And it does an AoE slow and a constant frost damage to everyone. It's not that much. The healer can easily heal through it, no problem. But then another thing is that it freezes the entire team. It's faster than the Thundered, so you know you probably will get freeze at least one time, but it's no big deal. You can just free will out of it quickly, and it doesn't have that much HP. And if for some reason you leave it alive, it'll freeze. You know, it'll freeze constantly, except not as constantly as a Thunder mob. Like Thunder mob does it like every couple seconds, so that's why it's more dangerous. But for you in specific, this is important as a mage. It reflects magic damage, and and if you get multiple blues, then do not shockwave. Do not shockwave. If you shockwave on multiple blues, you will kill yourself through prey. And this is kind of weird that you just kind of have to improvise. If you see like one blue, that's no problem. You can shockwave through it. It's just the first mob stage. If you see two, then you should just use Flamestorm and then probably Frostbolt one or just shock or very slowly shock them down. And then if there's the purple mob with the blue mob, then you're kind of screwed. Try to target the purple mob and do single target damage, but you can't do too much damage with this boss. If you do, you will kill yourself, and if you kill yourself, then you have the emblem res, which, you know, it's not that big of a deal at the same time, which is why it's not as dangerous as the next mob, which causes the entire team to wipe. But for this mob, you know, just be careful, just take it slow. If you see a lot of these, then try not to freak out and to go all out. It's just that simple, and chances are you won't see two of them anyway, so this is just, you know, just in case kind of deal. But you know, just keep your eyes peeled for this. So then the most infamous and the most dangerous mob for everyone in the team is the poison mob, also known as the purple mob. And what it does is that it heals itself and other mobs. You can't stop this. It'll heal everyone around it just naturally. It's not that much. It'll probably, you know, add 10 to 15 seconds of extra DPS at best. And then the big thing is that it casts a huge heal. 25% of his 25% HP on everyone around it, besides your team obviously. and then the tank must interrupt this. This is not your job. Don't try to cyclone it. You need to DPS it through. The tank's job is to interrupt. Your job is to kill it. So just keep that in mind. And if it somehow gets it off and it heals 25% of your 25% of everyone's HP, then you're in the triple mob stage. You're kind of screwed because this is gonna stall the fight, and the monkey boss will do more and more damage until the point that it one-shots the tank faster than you can kill it. So keep that in mind. And on top of all this, if it somehow lives long enough and you somehow interrupt this cast twice, then it'll put down a poison puddle on someone random in the team. And this also does very strong AoE damage, very strong damage, very strong single target damage and magic damage on someone. So pretty much #1 priority. If you don't kill this, either you'll die through attrition because the fight will last too long, or you'll kill someone just through the poison puddle. So just keep that in mind. You have to focus this one down first. If you can, that is. You don't need to, like individually click it, but that is something to keep in mind. You want this thing to die ASAP. And then finally, for the last part, I'm just going to show you an example of it, a new example of it, and I'm going to be commentating through the majority of it so you can see my thought process and my thinking behind it, because there's actually a lot of strategy behind it in my opinion. And it is a very fun boss once you're geared and once you're experienced in it, but it is very intimidating and it is very difficult at the start when you have no idea what's going on. So this is also a very difficult run right here. We almost wiped at the end because we got really bad mob sets. So anyways, let's go on straight to the example. So then here we go. Here is the actual example. 29k HP, mostly PvP. I'm gonna equip one PvP glove real fast. And you can wear more PvE if you're very confident with your abilities, but if you're starting out, I recommend as much stamina as you can get. The rest of my gear is T4 accessories, and then tier 4 ring and the God's Anger ring. I'm about to get the next tier 4 ring really fast. So first mob set, the super mob set. As you can see, it moves very quickly. It's a little more immune to dying. As you can see, normally if it was a purple mob, it would have died already. But just slowly DPS it down, no problem. You can see the tank's HP barely moved. And then this is where we start to position ourselves here. So I'm gonna skip forward a little because the first mob stage is very easy. It's no big deal. And while this fight is going on, I'm going to be reminding you guys of the different tactics and what you should be thinking. You can see me constantly casting elemental finishing. That's just because I'm using the first talent that I showed you, where you get 15% extra damage since it's 5% and you can stack it up 3 times if you cast elemental finishing 3 times. And that's going to be very useful during the mob stage, since that means you get 15% stronger shock damage. And a lot of this is not really doing damage while there is no mob, so just being very careful. Don't kill yourself with AoE, do damage while the shields are down, and do fast damage while the mobs are up. Okay, a few other things you should keep in mind, as the chat just reminded me, is that you have to make sure you don't rush forward when the boss dies. And the reason why is because what a lot of new people do is that once they kill the boss, they get excited, they rush forward, they rush towards the boss, and then they end up killing everyone because of the debuff. Remember? You have to always keep in mind the debuff, the ancient curse debuff. If you move too close to each other, you will instantly kill each other. It's just that simple. So then another thing you want to keep in mind is that the guy in the back, I also killed myself here. No, I didn't. So the guy in the back is actually not doing anything. He's just auto attacking. And I think I completely left that part out. You need someone with the Gravebound weapon, and if they have the Gravebound weapon equipped, you have to auto attack. And it's just that simple. You can do it with a tank with the Gravebound shield, and you can just auto attack with a regular axe or the Gravebound axe, or you can have an archer with the Gravebound daggers auto attacking with a bow, or you can have a mage with the Gravebound fan just auto attacking with the wand. So I do think I killed myself here, and this is another thing you guys want to keep in mind is if you're this far in the monkey boss, then you might as well just rune res or essence res just right there. I mean, it's not worth wasting another 10 minutes going back, repositioning yourself, resetting the boss and everything. It's just not worth it, and you also waste time on your buffs. Here I do kill myself. I get hit with the fire mob AoE. And then just in general, I just wreck myself because of the blue mob, and that's just totally my fault. I should have slowed down when I saw that kind of damage, but just rune res here, no problem. It's just 30 essences. That's just my mistake here, but it's no big deal if you die. If you die from the blue mobs during that stage, especially if all of them died from your flamestorm, it's just a big problem if the tank dies. That's when you have to reset. So then you can see me here, I just skip forward a lot of this just because it's just the same thing. Just be careful, watch out for the blue shield. As you can see, every once in a while it does a really fast cast where it casts a blue shield, and then I start doing reflect damage on myself. That's when I use elemental finishing or frostbolt. And also this is the infamous purple mob, and as you can see, it healed the boss by just a little bit. Even if you do interrupt it, it will heal it just by a little bit. So that's why they really suck, and that's why you want to get, that's why a tank wants to get rid of them ASAP. So here I'm just skipping forward a little more. You can just see me, I'm not going ham, I'm just, you know, slowly DPSing down the boss. Hasn't gone into rage mode yet, so I have plenty of time. Also, I'm also keeping in mind of you don't want to do too fast damage, because then if I do too fast damage, then the healer won't have prey ready, or the tank won't have guardian stance ready, and he'll end up killing himself as well. So this is another important fact. As you can see, my health was really low, but I did not die, and this sucks here, double purples. That's nothing you can really do about it. And the issue with that is that even though none of them got a cast off, they healed the monkey boss by quite a considerable amount, like 10%. And you know, this is the reason why this run took so long, is because we had purple mobs almost every single time at the end. We had 2 sets of double purples, but either ways we got through it at the end. And like I said before, if your HP is low, or if you have low HP, that's the exact same shit, but don't do DPS. Just put up energy shield, pot, do whatever it takes. Do not do DPS when you have low HP. Another purple here, as you can see, there's a rock, a super, and a purple as well. So then I don't know, I don't use Skyfire for some reason. I think that's because I have Flame Phantom up, so it doesn't really matter. And that's just a mage thing, you know, you don't really need to know about that. So then, as you can see, the boss healed by a little bit again, around like 5%. It will heal around that amount no matter what you do. So then, you know, just see me slowly DPSing down the boss, and then the healer is jumping whenever he's praying, whenever his prayer is ready, and you need that kind of communication. If you do too much DPS, then you'll end up dying because during the mob stage, because the healer does not have prey ready. If you do too slow DPS, then you end up dying anyways because you took too long to kill it. So you gotta find a nice balance. And once again, double purples, and you can see the monkey boss healing up by a little bit. He was almost dead, but now he's already back at like 10%. So you know, that sucks, but you know, nothing you can do about it. Now it's around like 12%, so we just had to DPS it back down. But that was one of the shittier runs. We just got really unlucky. But as you can see, the tank's HP is really low now because of the fact that the monkey boss is doing so much rage damage, because it took us so long to kill because the purple mobs. So this is one of our this is actually one of the slowest runs I've had, about like 11 to 12 minutes. But any more than 11 to 12 minutes, you'll probably die. This tank had tier 4 and everything on, so as you can see, boss died. Wait before you loot it. And other than that, you know, hope you guys found this helpful. This took me a pretty long time to make, so I try to be as detailed as I can. This is gonna be a mage guide. I can try making a healer or tank guide in the future, but I don't know those classes very well. So anyways, if, like I said, if you want a monkey boss kill and if you want to just screw the rules, just buy one, then contact a healer or contact the tank in the video, because they do all the dealing. I don't deal with the money. I just get offered to DPS it. So anyways, it's Pohdoh here. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.